listening to the Wandering Chronicles podcast. I'm Ashley.
I'm Jamie.
Hi.
How's it going?
I just woke up.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I always make you do this early. But this was your time. You chose it.
I chose it for a reason. I didn't want to sleep long, and I fell asleep around... Whatever I last texted you last night was right around the time I fell asleep, because I put my phone down and literally passed out. I didn't even realize how tired I was. I just, conked out.
Can't relate. I was awake until 4:30.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, I don't know. The meds are helping most of the time.
Yeah.
Last night was not one of them. So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I passed out thoroughly. I had a busy day yesterday. I went and took Johnny to the vet, and then he scratched the shit out of me.
Yeah.
He drew my blood.
He made you draw your own blood.
He made me bleed my own blood. I'm not happy. No, I don't care. He's a good boy. It was his first trip to the vet. He was terrified, and he acted better than I anticipated. He acted really bad, but he acted better than I expected. I expected, him running around the room, jumping off the walls, and, freaking out. But, he just kind of hid in the corner, but, would scratch the shit out of anyone who tried to pick him up. So they had to...
He really was afraid.
Yeah, so he had to be wrapped in a towel for most of his visit.
None of mine act like that. I mean, definitely Chibi will hide underneath the chair. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't do anything when you get her.
Yeah,
there's no fighting back. Johnny
fights back. And it's the complete opposite of his sister. His sister is so sweet. They, love her at the vet. She just, she does this freeze thing where she just, stops and, won't move. And she's, they love her. They're she's so sweet. She just sits there and handles everything. Johnny needed, a kitty straitjacket.
Yeah. I don't blame him. It is scary.
Yeah, and they trimmed his nails, which was great. I wish they'd done that before he went into the exam room. But, they trimmed his nails, and they must have trimmed them really low, because, it almost feels like he's declawed.
Oh, well, that's good.
They didn't trim Izzy's that low.
Yeah. Her quick might have been longer. They go towards, wherever the quick ends.
Yeah.
So, because I clip my cat's nails. Gordy lets me. Gordy loves it. He's always loved it.
Yeah, I tried to, and Johnny will let me get through, maybe a paw before he's nope, I'm over this. Yeah. Izzy won't even let me touch her paws, so Izzy has to have it professionally done.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's probably why she got a less good manicure.
Probably. Johnny doesn't mind having his paws held. But he is clearly still mad at me, because he didn't sleep with me last night, and he's in the other room now, just, glaring at me, so...
He'll get over it.
He will. He's a good boy. He came out to get brushed yesterday after the vet, and he loved it. And he sat there and purred, and was a good boy. He's scared.
Everything was okay at the vet?
He's normal weight, normal heartbeat, normal temperature. I mean, he's 12 pounds, but they said he's a lean 12 pounds, so he doesn't really need to lose weight or anything. Mm-hmm. He doesn't look like he's 12 pounds. He's just a long cat.
Yeah.
But,
boy cats tend to be bigger.
Yeah. So... he does have some dental issues, which I'm gonna have to look into.
Yeah,
but I kind of expected that because Izzy has dental issues. I don't think hers are nearly as severe as his are.
Reminds me of that TikTok page that you and I follow. That
oh yeah,
gingivitis.
Yeah. Johnny might have that too.
Yeah, Gordy does. Gordy, when I took him to the vet. When he punked me a couple months ago, and I thought he had an eye injury. They're like, well, he's healthy, he doesn't have an eye injury, but he did lose a tooth at some point. Oh. And they're like, oh, he probably just reabsorbed it into his body. I'm like, that's a thing?
Damn, cats are weird.
I know, I Googled it, and it is, I mean, it's a sign of poor dental hygiene. It's, he's got bad teeth, but he's also... 11 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of 77-year-old humans that have good teeth. So.
No. Honestly, he's eating, he's drinking.
Yeah.
He's clearly not bothered by it too much.
It's good to get it looked at because there are some other things that can happen if it's too bad, but Gordy had to have his teeth cleaned once, and they put him under anesthetic for it, and I just don't feel like I got out of it enough to make that not scary.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or to make it worthwhile, I guess is a better way to say it, because anytime anesthetic is involved, it freaks me out, especially for cats.
Yeah, they're so tiny. Yeah, they showed me his teeth. They looked bad. They looked really bad. Yeah. Like, there was plaque growing over the gums, and they're like, yeah, this is not good. The roots might be infected. We need to look at this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that... I wonder, though, if they can do, like... For Gordy, they were able to do x-rays without putting him under, because he's so pretty chill. But I'm not sure if they'll be able to do that with Johnny.
No, there's nothing chill about that cat.
Yeah.
He's Angry Johnny for a reason.
Gordy is very freeze. His fear response is freeze.
Yeah. And Izzy would be able
Johnny's
to do that.
Johnny's is fight, apparently.
Johnny is fight till there's nothing left. Like, he will drain your body of blood before he gives in.
Aw, poor guy.
I love that boy.
Well, I mean, all things considered, that's a pretty okay visit, I would say.
Yeah,
I mean, at his age, for him not ever being into the vet sooner, that's very good.
Yeah, he's, I'm waiting for the blood work. I'll have that on Monday. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I learned my lesson with Izzy. I didn't do the blood work the first time I took her, and I had to take her back again. And I was like, no, I'm doing the blood work this time. So I just did it right away just to make sure.
Yeah, I hardly ever do the blood work.
I did it
because expensive, and a lot of times there's nothing they can do with the results. You know, they get the results. With Dexter, they got the results like, he has a heart condition. We can't do anything for that. So now you know he has a heart condition, and there's nothing we can do with that information. It just makes you more scared, and I don't need that in my life.
Well, it's a little different for me, because when I did the blood work for Izzy, they found something that they could do something about, and she was very sick. So I'm glad I did it. I figured they're biological siblings. May as well make sure that he doesn't have the same condition she does. I don't think he does. But, you know, he hasn't changed his weight or, like, demeanor since he was a grown adult. Like, he's always been the same. He doesn't lose weight. He doesn't gain weight. He just is. He just eternally is. I think
there's a fundamental difference in how you and I view the vet.
Yeah.
You view them as a medical provider. Mm-hmm. I view them as a business.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you and I are. That's why we see it differently, and it is what it is. You know what I mean?
I just, because I knew something was wrong with Izzy, and it wasn't something that they were catching, and I just figured, it's their first time. I don't have to do blood work every single time I take them. It's not going to be an every single time. But the first time it seems important, especially since they're seniors. And
at this age, and they've never had it done before, probably since they were kittens. They might have had it done when they were kittens.
Yeah, but they need it now. So just to make sure that they're healthy. So I did it. I didn't love the price. I don't love that.
It is expensive. And
it's expensive.
I don't know. It kind of freaked me out when Dexter's came. A lot of it's fear-based for me, right? Yeah. Because Dexter had a heart condition, nothing he can do. And I'm like, I guess it was good in the long run that I found that out, because when he died randomly at 5 years old otherwise I wouldn't have had any idea what it would have caused that.
Oh, poor baby.
And then that would have probably been awful to not have at least some idea of what might have caused that.
I'm glad I did the blood work for Izzy. I mean...
Oh, yeah. A good vet will tell you, this is something we like to do, this is not something you need to do, versus this is something you need to do.
Yeah, and I'm glad I did that for her. She is doing so much better. She doesn't feel frail anymore. She feels like her old self. She's back to screaming at me for no reason. So she's her normal, irritating self. And I love her.
If you do decide or do need to have Johnny get a dental cleaning, having had done that blood work will be helpful if anesthesia is required. Will be required for that. So you'll want to know what his metabolics are before they do that anyway, to make sure everything's kosher. So
they told me that in order to do the dental cleaning, they'd have to do the blood work to make sure that everything's okay. So
I think it's funny though, because it's clear you live in a city and I live in the middle of like podunk nowhere. Because here they're like, we should do the blood work, but you don't have to if we're gonna put, like, when I got April spayed, They're like, you should do the blood work, but you don't have to. So I didn't.
Yeah.
And they put her under for that.
And she's okay.
Yeah, but she's also tiny. I mean, she's young, you know? I got her spayed when she was like a year old, and I waited that long because she was so small. And I was like, I can't handle the idea of her being under when she's like 2 pounds soaking wet.
So baby.
I know. Well, she looks like a normal adult cat now, but she still sounds like a baby.
She's gonna hold on to her baby meow. Johnny still has kind of a baby meow.
Anyway, anything else going on with you other than Johnny Vet stuff?
Johnny Vet? Oh, yeah. I went to the Midsummer Festival yesterday, walked through it. It kind of sucked.
Like Shakespeare Midsummer?
It's more of like the Swedish Midsummer.
Oh, like pagany.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, the neighborhood it's in is called Andersonville, and it is
I know Andersonville. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a formerly Swedish neighborhood turned gay and lesbian neighborhood.
I didn't know either of those two things. I just know that they have really good Indian food restaurants.
They do. They have a lot of like really. I
always went for Indian food when I lived in the area.
Yeah, it's got some good food in that neighborhood, but yeah, it is now kind of been co-opted by the lesbians. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because there's like the Boys Town, which is like the party area, and then Andersonville's kind of like the settled down, like cute small town vibe.
Roscoe Village is kind of like that too, right?
Yeah,
a lot of LGBTQAI plus places there.
So the Midsummer Fest, it's usually a really fun festival, and I really like it. But this time it was kind of like it looked like every other festival, and I was kind of like, okay, well, I could see that at like literally any other festival in the city. I could see that anywhere, and then it's kitschy animal stuff, weird art.
Mean? Like pet stuff. Petting zoos?
No, not petting zoos, like pet supplies. Like weird
okay,
dog toys or like collars and stuff that you could buy. So like
puppy boutique for people who have too much money.
Bingo.
Got it.
So it was like kitschy animal stuff or really mainstream art / jewelry.
Okay.
And then community outreach / big business booths.
See, the big business thing's shitty.
Yeah.
I mean, community outreach makes sense.
Yeah, like there's like LGBTQ booth. There's there was like a Andersonville booth. There's like different community outreach things, but then there's also like some big businesses like the Pop Chips brand was there with a booth giving out free bags of Pop Chips.
Pop Chips?
I don't know. I don't remember the name of the brand.
You mean like the popcorners? Those are so good.
Yeah. The only cool thing was they were giving out, like, the Swedish midsummer crowns of flowers and stuff.
Like, for free?
Either for free or charging for them, I don't know, but a lot of people had them on, and I thought that was kind of cool. After we went... This is the reason why I'm so tired and why I just, like, woke up after, like, 12 hours of sleep. We walked through Midsummer Fest, and again, it was really disappointing, because usually it's one of my favorite festivals in the summer. And, we went to this, like, Korean warehouse market.
Okay.
It was really fun. It was incredible, which is how I got my Dongwon peach tea.
So what they had? It was mostly food.
It was food. It's home goods. It's skincare.
Did you get any skincare? I love Korean skincare. It's my fucking shit.
I got 2 masks.
That's it?
That's it for right now. I will be going back.
If you can find anything with the ingredient mucin, get it. It is the best ingredient in skincare. It's also snail.
Oh yeah, I've had snail stuff.
But I love it. And
I agree.
I have an entire pot of it, and it goes forever. Like, it's $20. It will last me the rest of my fucking life. You only need, like, a tiny bit.
Yeah, but I've used the snail cream before, and it's phenomenal. But yeah, I got a rose mask and a royal honey mask.
Interesting. Oh, royal honey's good ingredient.
Yeah.
I like the smell of rose, but never in the quantity that it is in skincare. It's always so strong. I've
had rose-scented masks, and they're subtle, but yeah, after like 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, get this thing off me.
I don't mind it, and it's just the smell it's a little too grandma for me. I don't know.
It reminds me of a funeral home.
Well, yeah, I can see that matching grandma energy, to be honest.
Grandma / funeral home energy.
Unfortunately.
I walked about 7.5 miles in total yesterday, and I'm exhausted. And my feet hurt so bad that I laid down on the couch and I didn't move again until 7:30 this morning.
Wow. I can't sleep on the couch. I don't know how you do that.
My back hurts so bad right now.
Okay, well, then that's where I would be.
That was my fault. I slept on a vintage 1950s love seat.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it was a mistake. I know that now. I couldn't move. I was, like, so tired and my feet hurt so bad. And I was like, I just need to lay here. And next thing I know, the room is light and it's 7:30, so I gave Izzy her medication and then I went back to bed.
I have a leather couch. It's so comfortable, but it's the kind it like swallows you almost. Like you feel like you're getting sucked into it, and sleeping on it, you just wake up somewhere else, like in a different country, because you just got sucked all the way into the couch.
It's a hungry couch.
It's a hunger couch.
Yeah.
Hungry couch. All right, so we are going to Kentucky. How'd you get there?
I burrowed like a gopher.
Okay.
Gophers do that, right? I don't know.
I think so. I don't really know. I think so. Gopher turtles do, or tortoises do, and I think that's probably why they got the name gopher, so I have to assume that they do, but I have no direct knowledge.
In our podcast universe, gophers tunnel. Burrow, so I am a burrowing gopher.
Yes.
That's how I did it. How'd you get there?
Train.
Oh! Very nice. Way more normal than mine.
It's a little bit more of a direct route.
It's me scurrying through a tunnel.
So yeah, we are in Kentucky today, and we have a founding people story. Right off the bat, I want to set the record straight, though. Last episode, when I drew the town, I called it Versailles, like the treaty. That is not how this town name is pronounced.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, it is definitely pronounced Versailles.
Oh,
by the locals, so I will do my best to continue calling it Versailles, and I will also try very hard not to sing AWOL Nation Sail every time I say it. So.
Obviously, we're not going to make any promises here.
I mean, I use the word try on purpose. That's very deliberate.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, let's
talk about Versailles.
Versailles, let's sail over there. Sorry, had to.
Come sail away, come sail away. Versailles is located 13 miles west of Lexington in Woodford County and is considered a part of the Lexington-Fayette metropolitan area. Cool. One small fun fact is that Versailles was founded on June 23, 1792, on 80 acres of land that was owned by Hezekiah Briscoe.
Oh, that's a name. I like that.
I love it.
Hezekiah.
I love it. He was a child at the time.
What? How old was he?
I couldn't find an exact age. It was, I'm guessing, a teenage situation, but definitely a child.
Wow, Hezekiah. Look at what they did back then.
An industrious child.
Damn, that kid is on it. Kids back in, like, the 1700s were, like, getting married and buying houses and stuff.
I know. I don't want to think about it because it kind of cringes me out a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little
some
weird.
Of the things kids are doing. But another, just for me, fun fact is that almost all of the small town scenes from my favorite movie were filmed in Versailles, and that movie is Elizabethtown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was in 2005, and I just think that's very cool. I didn't know that.
That is so cool.
So, it's also, fun fact, the hometown for William Shatner and Sturgill Simpson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are fun facts.
Very fun facts. I could probably do a pretty great episode just talking about William Shatner's life as a prominent person from Versailles. He seems like a pretty interesting dude. But,
yeah, he is a very interesting dude.
Yeah, but I did find another story that I think is more important to tell. Sorry, William. I'm going to tell you about Huntertown instead, which was a free town, an established area and populated originally by freed, formerly enslaved people following the Civil War.
Oh, very interesting. I'm so glad you're covering this.
The first resident of the hamlet was formerly enslaved Woodford County veteran named Jerry Gatewood, who purchased the first 5-acre tract on August 29th, 1871.
Very interesting.
He purchased the land from Isham Rayleigh, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, and his uncle Abner Hunter, who then began to sell other portions of their 50-acre plot to other newly freed black men and families to create a community on what is now locally known as the Crawfish Pike in Versailles.
Okay.
Black towns have a rich history in the United States, but they are unfortunately rarely spoken about in history classes. And that's really frustrating because these areas have been the sites of some of the best demonstrations of community and human resiliency, as well as some of the most devastating and violent tragedies in American history. Following the Civil War, black towns began to pop up all over the country and were home to many of the recently freed former slaves, whose freedom was granted by the adoption of the 13th Amendment on, this was interesting to me, December 18th, which is my birthday, 1865. So now I can say that I share a birthday with a problematic amendment that helped but didn't fix the problem of slavery.
Yeah. It granted freedom. It didn't grant equality. It's problematic.
Very problematic. But I didn't really want to focus too much on that. I did look into it, but I'm like, this is a happy story.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we pointed out that amendment has a lot of problems that lead to systemic racism that still occurs now, but it did allow for folks like this to make their own town where they felt safe, and that's a good thing. So
that is. It created a community, and that's important.
Between the late 18th and early 20th centuries, more than 1,200 free towns are believed to have been established across the country, providing their inhabitants spaces of refuge, security, and stability. And they were places where Black people could support one another and their families, grow their own businesses, and live independently as a community.
Very nice.
Huntertown, in particular, was a self-sufficient community for over 130 years.
Wow.
In 1920, the population was over 180 people. This included teachers, preachers, and community leaders who all lived and worked in Huntertown.
That's awesome.
Love
it.
Residents owned their property, their homes, and their businesses, and even sent their kids to school within the hamlet's borders. Though there were no physical churches present in Huntertown, religious services were held at the school, which also hosted community events like suppers and potlucks. The Huntertown School operated from 1895 until 1940. Huntertown also had its own baseball team, the Huntertown Sluggers, who played against other Black teams in central Kentucky at the time.
Interesting. I like it.
The Richmond, Nicholasville, Irvine, and Beattyville Railroad Company, aka the Rhiney B, ran through the neighborhood as well, with 2 whistle stops daily until on its route from Ravenna to Frankfort, and it operated until 1932. So they even had access to transportation. I do want to take a second to delineate free towns like Huntertown from stereotypes like the ghetto. What we typically think of when we talk about the types of communities that people stereotype as, quote, ghettos, unquote, are not the creation of Black Americans, and they never were.
Yeah.
These were caused entirely by racist housing practices that many white people invented to prevent Black people from buying property in certain sections of many cities, forcing them to reside in segregated neighborhoods, most of which lacking transportation options and services that white areas enjoyed.
Like grocery stores. Because food deserts are a serious problem.
Yep. Grocery stores, jobs.
Yeah.
One of the big problems in East St. Louis is one of the only jobs is Pfizer, which is a huge chemical plant that makes pharmaceuticals, but it poisons the area.
Yep.
So people have to deal with that pollution.
Yeah, there's, like the south sides of Chicago, there's a lot of food desert areas, and a while back, Whole Foods decided to open a grocery store there, and it's like, okay, that's great. Congratulations, but your prices are insane and nobody's going to be able to afford it. Send, Open a Jewel down there. Open something
Aldi,
that is like an Aldi. Aldi would be perfect.
I live in a food desert. Aldi that's right here, and it's a tiny Aldi that's in my neighborhood. But if it wasn't here, there wouldn't be any local grocery stores within walking distance for most people.
Yeah. I live within walking distance of 4 different grocery stores.
Yeah. In 1968, Lyndon B. Johnson's administration launched the Kerner Commission to investigate the causes and implications of the 1967 Detroit riots. And in its report, the commission stated that, quote, "What white Americans have never fully understood, but what black Americans can never forget, is that white society is deeply implicated in the ghetto. White institutions created it, white institutions maintain it, and white society condones it," unquote. And before anybody makes the mistake of assuming that this has changed more than a little bit, let's not forget that both Trayvon Martin and Ahmaud Arbery were murdered for, quote, looking, unquote, like they were in the wrong neighborhoods.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is unfortunately an ongoing problem in America, and one that white Americans have the responsibility to fix. Mm-hmm. It's our responsibility.
It's our problem, therefore it's our thing to fix.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I just wanted to take a second to say that, because what we're talking about with Huntertown isn't this. This is a place that they created for themselves where they could thrive. And this is a good story. This is a happy story.
Yay.
And it's completely different than the East St. Louis's of America that are not a happy story and that are our fault.
Or Tulsa, when it had
Tulsa.
That.
Well, and Tulsa was a happy story that white people ruined, but they created that themselves and made a wonderful,
thriving,
what do they call it? Black Wall Street is what they call it for themselves. And white people can't handle black joy.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a point to set the record straight on that, because they aren't the same thing.
No.
And this is awesome.
Okay. I can't wait to hear something happy, because
this is the happy story. I mean, this is kind of a short story, but unfortunately, because it's a long time ago and there isn't a lot of information because, you know, racism.
Yeah.
But I still think it's an important story to tell.
History books are written by white people, so.
It's true. It's true. So unfortunately, Huntertown did come to an end. The Bluegrass Parkway project split Huntertown in half in 1965, and at this time the community began to decline, and people began moving out of the area. Aww. Huntertown also unfortunately began to struggle with persistent problems with flooding because the land was swampy. Aww. It was naturally a wetland. Eventually, that led to the Community Development Block Grant, where the land was purchased by the county, and residents were given a financial incentive to move.
That's a bummer.
So it's nice that they were able to relocate, like they were helped with that, because, I mean, to be honest, my parents moved under the same circumstances from my childhood home. It kept flooding. It was always a problem. And then the county got a grant that said, we will give you money if you move. Yeah. And they tore down all of the houses on the block. And that makes sense. That's what happened here, unfortunately, too. So people were given the financial compensation to move out of the area, the remaining members of the area, in 2002. And all existing structures were torn down between 2003 and 2005. In 2010, the land was zoned as a conservation district.
Okay.
In 2021, an interpretive community park was created, with the locals heavily involved to tell the story of the historic community that many families called home for over a century.
Oh, I love that.
This is the best part, in my opinion.
Okay.
The historical marker was dedicated on August 28th, 2021, during the 150th anniversary celebration of Huntertown's inception. And a lot of the remaining family members or the descendants of family got to be there to experience this celebration. There's actually a video that I'm going to have Ashley watch. I'm not going to put the audio because it's a lot of the same things I've already said, but it's coming from members of the community. Largely, it's a 5-minute video. I'll link it in the show notes for you to go and watch because it's great to see the joy on these people's faces. And it's wonderful what they've been able to accomplish. Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna have Ashley watch that now.
Okay. That's really, really sweet.
It is.
I'm so glad that they get to, like, preserve the memory and kind of celebrate it and educate people in the future about it. 'Cause
maintain it as a positive.
Huntertown was important.
Yeah.
It still is.
It still is. And I love that, I mean, obviously they lost some of the land to the parkway when it went through, but 12 acres gone, 38 acres being maintained. I think that's pretty great. I
think it's shitty that they built a parkway right through the town.
I know. Why does it with all these fucking wonderful places being ruined by roads?
We're right back to Split Oak again.
Mm-hmm.
And Lake Mary Jane.
That, it's the same
It's the same
story.
concept, yeah.
I know. It's
Stop
frustrating.
Building parkways through communities and natural preservations.
The things that we've destroyed as a species, because it's not just the United States.
No, humans.
Although I think it's worse here than in a lot of places just because of our obsession with everyone having cars. But yeah, the things that we've destroyed just for the benefit of owning a vehicle.
I have lived 7 years without a vehicle, and it's been a wonderful 7 years.
Yeah. It's too bad that it's not an option more places to do that, because I think a lot of people would love it.
Yeah.
But this country is built financially a lot on the automotive industry, and there's just not a lot of concessions made for public transportation in a lot of parts of the country for that reason.
I am very lucky to live in Chicago. CTA may be a pain in my ass, a pain in everyone's ass, but it really does make it easy to get around without a car.
Yeah,
and
it's awesome.
Cheap transportation and usually free entertainment, because some weird shit happens on the train.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
Work on the interpretive park is ongoing, but the long-term plan is for the park to be a green space that includes a pavilion for gatherings, an outdoor classroom, a community garden, quote, ghost structures, unquote, of former buildings, which I assume is just not full-fledged buildings, but framework.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm guessing that means. Such as the Huntertown School and a memorial for formerly enslaved war troops, and signage to educate visitors on the rich history of the land and the residents who live together and thrive together on it.
Okay.
So part of the people that are working on that are the University of Kentucky has a group of students that are working on the signage for the historical aspects of it.
Awesome.
With the help of Huntertown residents and also the Woodford County Parks and Recreation group. So
that video was so sweet.
Yeah, that's the story of Huntertown.
Thank you for telling us such a nice, sweet story.
Yeah, I love to hear the resilience, man. The human spirit. Sometimes we suck a lot, but sometimes we don't, and it's nice to hear when we don't.
It's a sweet story, and Huntertown may not be a thing anymore, but it still lives on.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, they never had plumbing, and that makes it really hard to stay in a home forever.
Yeah.
And that's
that running water seems kind of insane. Yeah,
there are still places, though. I was surprised to learn that, like, especially in Appalachia. There's, you think in the United States that's just not a thing anymore.
Everything would have plumbing now, but no, not everything does. It just seems weird to live without running water.
Yeah, there's a lot of creature comforts that we've grown accustomed to that there are people that are just like, nah. Yeah, that is Huntertown, which is a part of Versailles.
I love that story.
Did you see the map that I gave you of where it is in location of Versailles? Because it is actually in Versailles.
Oh yeah, like it's like a suburb of Versailles.
Well, it's actually within the circle of Versailles.
Yeah, so it's like in the city. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just, I don't think Versailles is like a city. I think that there's like, do you know what I mean? I think that, well, in rural America, at least like where I grew up, the city limits was way outside of the bounds of the actual town.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of farms that were a part of that, if that makes sense. I had to find an entire video of how to pronounce things in Kentucky to make sure I was pronouncing that town name right, because I knew I wasn't. I knew there was no way they called it Versailles.
No, it's Kentucky. That's not Versailles. Well,
do you want to see where we're going next?
Yeah, let's spin that wheel.
Alrighty.
Alright, where are we going?
Fort Myers, Florida. Here we come, Florida man.
Going back to Florida. Yep. What are we going to talk about in Florida?
I don't know. You tell me.
Ooh, you got ourselves a tragedy. Which, to be fair, Florida in and of itself is a tragedy.
Some of the time.
Some of the time.
One of our listeners used to live in Fort Myers, Florida, though.
Oh, so I better do the story right.
Yep, Megan lived there for a little while when we were, during college or right after, I forget. It was a long time ago. The only thing I remember about it is that she broke her computer screen once while she lived there and sent me an email about it. Which is the most inane thing to remember, but it is what I remember.
Hey, we remember what we remember.
I know. I just remember getting an email from her that said, I stepped on my computer.
Can't wait to go back to Florida and talk about something tragic. I'm gonna try and do something that's not gonna involve an insane amount of death.
Okay. There's a lot of things that could be tragic.
Yeah. So I'm gonna see if I can find a survival story.
Okay. Well, good luck.
That seems a little more on the uplifting side of tragic than, the tragic side of tragic.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes we default to true crime because it's easy. All right, well, I guess I will meet you in Florida when we talk about a Florida man.
Yes, there will be a Florida man.
Or shape.
I mean, you can't go to Florida without discussing Florida man.
I feel like it's required.
It is. Florida man will always make an appearance on a Florida episode. There's some really funny ones out there and some really, head scratchers. Like, why'd you do this? I have to call my parents back because they called me in the middle of this.
Oh, speaking of Florida man.
Speaking of Florida man, I'm going to call my dad.
Sounds good. Well, I will, on that note, I will meet you there.
Yeah, see you there.
Happy wandering.
Happy bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Wandering Chronicles podcast with your hosts, Ashley and Jamie. You can follow us on social media at Wandering Chronicles Pod on TikTok, Wandering Chronicles Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and WND Chronicle Pod on Twitter. Or you can email us at wanderingchroniclespodcast@gmail.com. New episodes drop once a week. If you're liking what you're listening to, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple. If you don't like what you're listening to, that's fine. Please tell everyone you know about our podcast. Your bank teller, that person at work that you're pretty sure steals your lunch out of the fridge every day, but you can't prove it, so you don't say anything. The hot dad that walks his dog by your house every day. Your cashier at the grocery store. Your children's friends' parents. I bet they listen to podcasts. Okay, thanks. Bye!
Hi, Peter. He listens to the podcast sometimes, so I'll give him a shout out.
Hi, Peter. Thanks for listening.
Peter. See if he listens to this and gets it, because he was telling me the other day, he's like, I'm really far behind. I'm like, yeah, you are. He's like, I'm on episode 5. I'm like, we're on episode 19's coming out.